Seek, and you're watching another episode of Artist Life. In today's episode, I'll share with you some of my thoughts and some techniques regarding painting. So, here we go. Alright, so the supplies that are needed for this painting are as follows. A 9x18 canvas, acrylic cadmium red, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, yellow ochre, cadmium red, alizarin red, ivory black, titanium white, liquid or galkite, palette paper, odorless terpenoid, a number 2 and number 6 flat bristle brush, a detail brush, and a palette knife. So this is the old barn that I will be painting in my own style. And as you can see, the dimensions on this photo is not as my canvas that I will be using. And what I'm doing right here is just a acrylic wash over my entire canvas. Now, if you notice, I am working on a loose sheet of canvas. I'm not really sure if I am going to hang on to this painting or not. So if it starts turning out to be really good, then I'll go ahead and just put some stretch bars on it and we'll just go from there. So if you notice, I am just constantly going side to side. Now this is acrylic, again, acrylic paint, so it's water based and it can dry within the next few minutes or I can blow dry. As you could see, now I have started my sketching. Okay, now I just went ahead and put some grid lines there just to figure out the proportions of my canvas versus what I'm looking at as my reference picture. So the pencil I am using is a number 2 pencil, so very basic, just blocking in all the shapes using my grid lines just to follow. So right here is going to be like the just the opening or the window of this barn. And if you notice, I don't want to get into any detail, just blocking in the shapes. Okay, so here's the pitch of the roof, as you can see. And now I started painting the sky. Again, I'm using phthalo blue and white for this, and just a hint of yellow, and mostly white though. If you notice, I'm just blocking it in. So I'm just constantly applying the colors. Now the yellow ochre goes on the foreground right here, and again, just like the sky, I'm just blocking this in. I'm usually using like a middle tone in color, nothing too light or nothing too dark. I'm just pulling my brush on the canvas. Now what I've done here is introduced a little bit of phthalo blue, not a lot, just to gray down the color that I'm working with. And again, I just constantly pull, doing crosshatch motions. I don't want to apply a flatness against my paint, so I do a crosshatch and it really works. So now I'm blocking in the trees. If you notice, I have used ultramarine blue and cadmium yellow for this. So as I block in the colors, I just want to hold on to my drawing. I want to be careful not to just randomly put color on the canvas. I want to hold on to my drawing. And I am doing a lot of changes in colors, so I'm putting my own interpretation as far as colors on this painting. So I think the first stage to this painting is just to do brushwork, and then I want to use palette knife. So as you can see here, I went ahead and stretched the canvas. So this is my second day now on this painting, and I am just once again blocking in the colors. Again, now I have grayed down the blue using a little bit of its complement, which is orange, and this is what I get. So putting lights and darks onto what I had done yesterday, and the Galkite that I used, it really made the painting dry. So with Galkite, it takes about 24 to 48 hours for it to completely dry. But in my case, since I do not use a lot of paint, it dried a little bit faster. So again, as you can see, I'm just applying the paint randomly. Okay, so I've started to put some highlights on the tree now, just to give it some dimension and make it feel like it's three-dimensional. So as you can see, I am applying a 3D look to my tree, putting some highlights in on top. I like to always apply 3 tones to my painting right away, which will really give me some depth. And what I'm considering here to have is my middle tones. And now I am putting my highlights, and eventually I'll go in and put some dark tones. And with my brush stroke, as you can see, I'm just going upward on the foreground, just applying some dark shades. So now I have started with my palette knife. So for the next few minutes, I want to show you how I went ahead and just used this palette knife to apply the textures and also the colors on the canvas. And with the use of palette knife, you don't have to be so detailed. You can keep things very loose. And if you notice here on the roof, I have already started applying this blue grayish color, and I am just visualizing the panels on the barn, and with my palette knife I'm just pulling the paint and just constantly grabbing the paint and creating subtle and blunt changes, actually not subtle but more blunt changes on the canvas. And right here at the tip is where the top of the roof pitch is, and then again I just pull it at an angle just to create that panel look on top of the roof. Okay, so everything is pretty old and rustic, so the palette knife will actually give us that look and the feel of the barn. Here we go, just pulling it sideways now, using the tip side of the palette knife. See, I'm going upward just to create a very hard contrast of color against the other panels which are on the bottom. So pulling downward and to the left, as you can see, because the right side is actually perspectively on the other side of the barn, so that's going to be all dark. And I'm putting a highlight here on the tip just to create some sort of an interest to to the barn, to the roof. And if you notice, with all that gridding, my drawing of my roof is a little short, but you know, at this time I'm just going to leave it, not to worry too much about that. It's not doing any harm to my painting, so I've started some dark tones. And what I am doing also is, after I apply the paint, I can go over it and just kind of like this, I can just create hard changes on, you know, it's more like wet onto wet. Yeah, right here, going upward, and sideways here, and pulling my palette knife to the left. And now I have started with the dark tones on the right side. So I decided to start with the darkest, which is the opening, the window, and now the top portion. So just go to the side and pull up. So sometimes you can go towards the side and then pull up, and here on the front side I am just creating a hard edge by pulling my knife horizontally and going downward. Okay, so now that everything is pretty wet, I can just do more wet onto wet, as you can see, just going in and creating these subtle changes. And feels really good because sometimes I can just pull the paint, and if I want, like here, I can just put a highlight, and then with the tip of my knife I can just put some scratches in. And now back to the tree. If you notice, I'm just applying the knife all vertically, so I'm going, actually my knife is vertical, and my brush, my strokes, my palette knife strokes are just vertical, are horizontal. So once you get into the rhythm, it's really not that hard, is it? And my knife strokes right now, I am starting to apply some dark tones. I'm emphasizing actually on the dark tones, and then if I feel like, you know, I've over stressed that color, then I go back to my highlight. So it's very simple, and by doing that I am really building up paint on the canvas, which actually at the end will look really nice because it'll be texturized. So if you notice, as I gently pull my knife on the canvas, it's just not pressing hard against it, but gently pulling up. So if you notice, what I'm doing with my knife is just pulling upward against the color on the sky, the blue, and that's just to flatten some of the harsh textures that I have. I'm flattening it out because I might come back later and just maybe stain it or what have you. So right now that's suited for me. So again, on the foreground I started to put some dark tones, emphasizing, and that is going to help me with perspective. And again, just keeping it loose and rough and pulling upward. So back to the sky, I am putting more color on there with this light blue and just emphasizing now the cloud that I have. So I'm pulling that back in. The color is a little bit brighter, where before my canvas the color of the sky was really grayed down. So now I'm just balancing it out by putting some lighter and brighter color. for my clouds, just to create more movement. Okay. So as you can see, I'm not using a lot of paint. It's very thin layer, and with my knife gently pulling upward. So again, guys, I really wanted to thank you for watching this episode of Artist Life, and if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and click that subscribe button, and leave me a comment. And if you would be nice enough to like my video, that's awesome too. So let's do a little bit more.